These conspiracy theories are going viral on TikTok right now. Recently, a conspiracy theory that's been picking up a lot of traction, which we just talked about, is the idea that this photo of JonBenet Ramsey, the woman in the background of it, is Ghislaine Maxwell. This has been a pretty long-running conspiracy theory. It's circulating TikTok right now. However, recently, TikTok has brought to my attention that not only is Ghislaine Maxwell potentially connected to JonBenet Ramsey, but yet another famous missing girl, none other than Madeleine McCann.
You know how we always say, oh, this wasn't on my bingo card, I didn't expect that? Bro, there is a rabbit hole right now. I was just on Godiva's page, the real Godiva goddess. I was just on her page, and they are linking Ghislaine Maxwell to not only JonBenet Ramsey, but Madeleine McCann, or Madeleine McCann disappearance as well. If you go back and look at the sketch, the drawing of who the suspect was in the Madeleine McCann disappearance, bro, are you serious? And this is supposedly another reason why they are too scared to release the files. Also, they said that Ghislaine Maxwell attended JonBenet Ramsey's last birthday party? Whoever the psychic was or the astrologer that said that 2025 was going to be the year of everything being revealed, you ate with that. You ate good with that. This is crazy. Was she really at that birthday party? Bro. This is why Razzle Dazzle doing what he's doing is so fucking important. Release the files, unredacted. I know y'all are saying that the victims, every single one of those victims that spoke out or on the White House lawn wants the files unredacted. Because they keep saying the victims, they're using that as a way to, no, release them.
So this has been a long-running conspiracy theory for quite some time. I've never talked about the Ghislaine Maxwell and Madeleine McCann connection, however, but it essentially comes from this specific police sketch of someone who was believed to be in the area the night that Madeleine McCann went missing. Now, the JonBenet photo that everybody's talking about, I have recently discovered that the rhetoric around it is that this was at JonBenet's last birthday party. I have not been able to verify that this was at a specific birthday party for JonBenet. Either way, I just 100% believe that is allegedly Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm sorry, I think it looks exactly like her. What do you mean? And if she's connected to JonBenet Ramsey in any way, would I be that surprised if somehow she's connected to Madeleine McCann? And is all of this a part of a darker trafficking ring? That's the question. So the photo of JonBenet specifically has not been debunked as not Ghislaine Maxwell, but it also hasn't been proven to be Ghislaine Maxwell, which makes sense to me because how are we gonna do that, you know? But either way, this is 100% a real photo. The woman in the photo is real, and nobody else has come forward being like, hey, that's me, not Ghislaine Maxwell. So I don't know. There were a lot of different police sketches in the case of Madeleine McCann, but this was one of the most famous ones. Basically, people around Praia de Luz area saw this woman allegedly carrying a child that looked similar to Madeleine the time that she went missing. This woman has never been identified or found, and Madeleine McCann's case is not solved, but apparently they know who did it. It's like the primary suspect is this convicted rapist, Christian Bruckner. Though the case hasn't actually technically been closed, it's a little confusing and up in the air. But a lot of people wonder if Jeffrey Epstein could be connected to some of the most famous cases of children disappearing, and even the ones that are not famous or not talked about. And I think that is interesting. Do I believe for a fact that this sketch is of Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't know. It definitely looks like her, but it also kind of is generic. Whereas the photo of JonBenet Ramsey, you can tell that that's Ghislaine Maxwell. Unless I'm legit crazy, I feel like a lot of people commented on my last video where we talked about it saying that looks like JonBenet Ramsey's mother, Patsy, but literally no, it doesn't. It's not. To me, as somebody who has researched JonBenet Ramsey and her family a lot, I've looked at several photos of Patsy Ramsey, and that does not look anything like her in my opinion. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because obviously we know Jeffrey Epstein is connected to human trafficking and child trafficking, and it's an interesting concept that some of his victims could be some unsolved, like, mystery missing cases of children. Obviously, JonBenet Ramsey was found, but a lot of people think that something went wrong and that it was still connected to a child trafficking ring, specifically because of her participation in beauty pageants. And allegedly, there is a lot of trafficking involved, or just SA in general, with that industry, which is obviously concerning because the sitting president did actually own part of a beauty pageant and also was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So, I mean, you know, you do with that what you will. And on top of that, won't release the files. So, I mean, like, you do with that what you will. Okay. Either way, it seems like the Madeleine McCann case, for the most part, has been relatively solved, with the idea of this German creepy ass man who's already been convicted of several other things. The thing is a lot of people just think he is a decoy. So I personally have a feeling that we'll never really know for sure what happened to either Madeleine McCann or JonBenet Ramsey. Do I think the Epsteins could have been involved? I don't know. That photo is just like clearly Ghislaine Maxwell, and I don't know why more people don't talk about it. As for Madeleine McCann, I mean, obviously she was across the pond, she was in Europe, so I don't know for sure if that connection is there. Also, it was way later, it was 2007, but I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. If you think these cases have any connection, not only to each other, but to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, because I need to hear your thoughts. Personally, I definitely think there's something going on with the Ramsey family and the Epsteins. Sorry. All right, the next TikTok I'm going to talk about genuinely freaked me the hell out, and this is why I would never want to have children, because if my child said this to me, I would be frightened. Very frightened. But this kid is essentially explaining the concept of parallel universes in her own words to her mother. No.
So I have to tell you this, that I fully broke in half, Mom.
So now what?
Now it's on a new planet. That just is like Earth, but different. Okay, it ain't Earth.
We're not on Earth anymore? What are we on?
I don't remember. So we're really on a different planet, Mom.
Because the Earth broke in half?
Yeah.
What the hell do you mean by that? So people really do believe that this little girl is trying to explain the idea of a split, like, parallel universe, a jumping of timelines, so to speak, that she is talking about as if it literally happened. I mean, I personally don't love that, but I do think it is interesting because we have talked a lot about timeline jumps, and a lot of people think that the world ended in 2012 and we switched timelines. Obviously, this child was born way after 2012. Although, honestly, when I think of someone born in 2012, I'm like, yeah, they're 5. Like, what do you mean? Not quite. But all of this kind of coincides with the Mandela effect. And the whole split universe theory is honestly a very common conspiracy theory. And I don't know, I kind of believe it. So I thought this particular TikTok goes hand in hand with this TikTok of this little girl because it's essentially explaining the conspiracy behind what she's saying.
The world ended in 2012. Well, a lot of people believe so. And not in the Hollywood fireballs and explosions way. No, they believe something far stranger happened. That reality itself shifted, and there is a good reason to believe so. The Mayan calendar didn't mark the end of the planet, it marked the end of the timeline we knew. Think about it, since 2012, doesn't the world feel off? Time feels faster, memories don't match. Small details, brands, movie lines, even history itself have changed. People call it the Mandela effect, I call it leakage. Some believe CERN, in their hunt for the God particle, didn't just smash atoms, but smashed reality. They tore a tiny hole in the fabric of existence, and we slipped into a copy. A copy that looks the same, but isn't. That's why the world feels less real, more chaotic, more artificial. That's why every year since then feels like a fever dream. Maybe the original Earth is gone. Maybe we're the ghosts now, drifting through a simulation built to keep us calm. But the cracks are showing, and the more you notice them, the more unstable this fake world becomes. So go ahead, tell yourself 2012 was just another year, but deep down, you know something changed.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
So this has been a pretty popular conspiracy theory since 2012 because that was the world's ending. Everyone thought the world was going to end on December 21st, 2012. All I remember is that I definitely skipped school that day because I was scared. But I think this theory kind of coincides with what the little girl is saying, which is essentially that at some point the Earth split and jumped timelines to a different parallel universe that's basically the same as Earth, but slightly different, which is why we have things like deja vu and the Mandela effect. I honestly think that this is an extremely interesting theory. And I will say, could the kid just be playing pretend, saying things? Obviously, but I also think that the way that she said it was so strange and so like matter of fact that it seems like she is aware that this actually did happen. And I don't know. I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because I genuinely think timeline jump / parallel universe is kind of the only thing that makes sense in regards to the Mandela effect. And I don't know how to feel about that because the butterfly effect, I used to think it could be due to time travel, but the butterfly effect would also change our memories. You know, a lot of people think the government is changing these logos and such without telling us so they can see what they can get away with. I don't think that's true because it wouldn't work in a lot of cases of the Mandela effect. Like there's physical evidence, which people always say, oh, this girl found the Fruit of the Loom logo, like with the cornucopia. Shit like that is like either photoshopped or just not real in general. But what is real is the fact that there are like millions of people that have Fruit of the Loom stuff probably from 20 years ago that does not have the cornucopia. That's the point. The point is that the cornucopia was never there, not that the government changed it. I've never believed that part. But the idea of us switching timelines, I don't know. It makes the most sense for the Mandela effect, which is ridiculous because it literally makes no sense at all. All right, the next conspiracy theory that I want to talk about that's been all over TikTok lately has to do with Tom Hanks. So I feel like Tom Hanks is like known as America's dad, you know? A lot of people have always felt like he's very wholesome and reminds them of their own dad and whatnot. But there is a conspiracy theory that puts a very, very dark spin on Tom Hanks. And I just want to say now, this is all alleged. Not saying that any of this is true. But in 2018, a woman named Sarah Ruth Ashcroft came forward online publicly accusing Tom Hanks and other Hollywood elites being a part of horrific crimes involving human trafficking. So the thing about this is it's really hard to find a lot of the original information that Sarah wrote on these forums because a lot of stuff was deleted and like wiped from the internet, which is obviously concerning whenever that happens. But allegedly Sarah reported everything that she knew to FBI agents. She said that she went to 3 different agents and every single one of them ignored her. And that's where the conspiracy theory of how deep this all goes really got involved here, which is the idea that like, yes, the FBI, the police departments, all of these things are in on the fact that this human trafficking is happening and they're turning a blind eye to it because either they're involved or they're being paid to keep their mouth shut. I don't know. When we see what happened with P. Diddy and we know who he is and we know what he's done and we see him get 4 years in prison, it's pathetic. It is. Like, it genuinely is. Or we know Prince Andrew, who has been countlessly connected to Jeffrey Epstein and accused of several terrible things, just goes on living his life like normal. I don't know. So then enter in a woman named Tracy Twyman. So she started posting her own personal stories in 2019 about specifically Tom Hanks, the Hollywood elite, etc. She claimed that she tried to go to police, tell people what was going on here, and all they did was try to silence her. And then Tracy ends up posting a lot of things saying like she's scared people are watching her, she's scared that something's gonna happen, and she dies in 2019. And allegedly she took her own life, which a lot of people obviously don't believe and think that the Hollywood elite had something to do with it. I've personally been saying for a very long time that I do think law enforcement has to be involved with all of the dark shit that goes on in Hollywood, in unsolved mysteries in general. You want to talk about JonBenet Ramsey? Why did so many of the Boulder, Colorado police like misplace different files when in regards to her? Why has her case not been solved? It was like the #1 thing people were talking about. How could they not solve it? And then when I talk about how Britney Spears was in her conservatorship for over a decade that had to be evaluated every year to see if she actually needed the conservatorship, no one wants to talk about the conspiracy theory that law enforcement could be involved here. And I think all of these little stories just really add up. A lot of people obviously do not think Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. They either think he was murdered or some people even think that he is alive somewhere. And I agree 100%. I do not think he took his own life. And is that because they were trying to protect other people involved. Who knows? And again, I think there's so much corruption in Hollywood, in law enforcement, in the FBI, all of the above, that it goes so much deeper than you would imagine. Like, it goes beyond the average celebrity, and I think a lot of people don't get that and try to be like, oh, Beyonce is the face of the Illuminati. And yeah, maybe she is involved with some shady shit. But at the end of the day, I do think it's the very, very rich, powerful people that we need to be worried about. And the fact that P. Diddy, again, is getting off basically scot-free, like 4 years in prison is cakewalk for him for what he did. I just think that that further proves the theory altogether. Also, like the fact that this administration's refusing to release the Epstein files, all of that added in just shows, I don't know. There's so much corruption, allegedly. All of this is alleged. But I want to hear what you guys think overall. Obviously, thinking about for a long time, I've been talking about conspiracy theories for a long time, but specifically lately, there has just been so much shit going on in the world that I'm like, there has to be like a bigger thing here. It's not, you know, one side versus the other, or America versus other countries or whatever. It's us versus them, and them is like the rich, the elite, the powerful. And I think it goes beyond a level of like any of our understanding, and that terrifies me. And I just like to pretend that doesn't exist, because what the hell? What am I supposed to do about it? I don't know. All right, the next theory I want to talk about has to do with gifted kids and like the specific GATE program, which I think is similar to the gifted program if you grew up on the East Coast. I'm not sure, but I think this was like the Californian way of saying it, maybe the entire West Coast. Again, a lot of these kids basically remember there being some very weird shit in regards to the GATE program. So the theory is a bunch of smart kids who were outliers in their classrooms were taken into this gifted program, and it was set up as like, oh yes, they're super intelligent and they're very smart and might be gifted for their grade level. Let's take them out and test them. But a lot of the kids who have been tested for this GATE program specifically remember some things that are very, very strange and kind of MK Ultra vibes. There are countless amounts of stories specifically remembering having to drink a little pink drink in a cup, like a medicine, which what the fuck would you even ever need that for? What do you mean? That I don't even know. These kids would be taught Russian. Why? I don't know. And also Morse code and so many other things that just like don't make sense for like elementary school, middle school kids. Why are they being taught this? A lot of people think that they were being tested by the US government to find children to be subjects for this kind of special testing that some people think was a little bit more MK Ultra vibes. Some of it kind of gives Stranger Things, like Montauk Project, kids with special powers or abilities. But either way, some of these stories are just bonkers.
I was a part of the Gifted and Talented program in the 90s, and I just found my binder. The things I found. For starters, they had us doing worksheets in Morse code. Here's one of them. So they gave us at the top what the Morse code is, and then we had to fill out the rest of the worksheets to like make codes and messages and stuff in Morse code. A lot of our worksheets were about different codes. This one is literally called Codes to Crack. So you can see there, they gave us like 8 letters, and each of the columns is a different code. So for this one, there was 8 letters. They gave us the corresponding letters, and then we had to figure out the rest of the alphabet and fill in the rest of the column. But there's so much more. Like the stuff I found in there, I'm like, what were you training us for? Like, why was I 10 years old speaking Russian? It's cool, but I don't actually remember anything except that's my name. So I do remember that. I'll share more as I go through the whole thing, but it's like there's like hundreds of worksheets in there, so like it's gonna take me a minute.
So that's insane. Like, I don't know what else to say about this. I personally was never a gifted kid, okay? I was very much average at school, but I also didn't try. So maybe if I applied myself, I would have been gifted, but nonetheless. A lot of people also have the conspiracy theory that they were trying to train these children to be high-level military personnel, which is just a terrifying concept overall. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, and especially please let us know if you were involved in the GATE program as a kid, and did you have any crazy weird experiences with some of the shit that you had to endure during the time that you were taken out of class to be a part of the gifted program. Please let us know, because what the fuck? And if you were forced to drink the pink drink, what the hell was it? What was the little medicine cup filled with pink drink? Was it medicine? What did it taste like? What did it make you feel? Did it make you pass out? Please let us know. let us know. I really want some gate kids in the comments below on this one because what the hell. All right, the next TikTok I want to talk about has to do with veterans, whether or not they are kept struggling on purpose.
I am not usually a conspiracy theorist, but I have one cooking and I genuinely believe it. I wholeheartedly believe that the reason the government does not take care of our veterans better is because keeping our veterans in a place where they're constantly having to survive instead of thrive means that they are far less likely to be able to participate in a form of resistance against the government. And I think that their input in a resistance would be our best shot at actually overthrowing an authoritarian government. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I do think that this is true, allegedly. It's something that a lot of people, including veterans, have talked about. Obviously, I do think that we fund the military so much damn money that we should have been able to take care of the veterans that previously served for the country, instead of a lot of them being in very struggling situations. But that's just my opinion. And I do think it's an interesting thought that this is kind of on purpose. Because again, the amount of money every year that goes to the military, like, it's doable. The money is there. This could be done, but why isn't it being done? Because the government acts like they favor veterans so much, yet so many of them are struggling and not being helped anyway. So I just think that that's weird, you know? I also think that this girl is right. I think that ex-veterans probably have some of the most interesting takes on the government, and if they had anything negative to say, I think a lot of people would take that very seriously on either side of things, because obviously they were very involved here. And I just think this is an interesting conspiracy theory, and I kind of don't think it's a conspiracy theory because I think it's low-key true, but let me know your thoughts. What I want to talk about is the earring theory, which is a very interesting conspiracy theory that I saw on TikTok that I just found a lot of people to have related to this experience.
Every time I'm somewhere I shouldn't be, I lose an earring. This has been a theory of mine since freshman year of college, and I actually, I tweak out about it because I believe in it so much at this point because it's actually never failed me. This theory has never failed me. In my freshman year of college, I was dating this boy, and I was over at his place and I lost an earring. And then a couple days later, he sent me a photo and he was like, "Oh, I found your earring in my room." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And that was the first time it had ever happened. This boy ended up being a terrible, terrible guy, okay? And one of the terrible things that he did was on Halloween night, okay? On Halloween of my freshman year of college, I was dressed as the 13 going on 30 girl, okay? And I had those long earrings or whatever. I lost an earring in the bar where this happened. This was the first time I was like, something feels odd about this. Then, in also my freshman year of college, I was at the club one night, and I ended up going home with this woman. Don't do that. Stay safe out there, kids. But I went home with this woman, and I ended up writing a play about it. But I'm putting it on this fall. Anyway, I went home with this woman, and I lost an earring in her apartment. She ended up being really freaking weird. And then, in my sophomore year of college, I ended up being in the same dorm as the boy from freshman year. And one day, I get in the elevator, okay? I'm two earrings in my ears. I get in the elevator. He gets in the elevator, okay? We ride down to the basement because he's doing his laundry or something. I don't know. He gets out. I go back up to my room. The second I step out of the elevator, I touch my ears. One of my earrings has fallen out. In the time I was in the elevator, one of my earrings fell out. And at that point, I'm like, oh my God, this theory is insane. I think it's real. And there's also a subset of this theory, which is people in my life that I've lost an earring with them, but they find it. In the moment, they're like, "Oh, you lost an earring, here it is." And those people, it didn't work out with them, but I'm still in contact with them, and I still like them, and we're on good terms. So this theory is real. This theory is so real, and I believe in it so heavily that there have been times where I'll lose an earring with somebody and they'll be like, "You're missing an earring," and I'll start to freak out. I'll start to be like, "No, we need to find it. If we don't find it, that you're a bad you're a terrible person. This is a sign that you're gonna really screw me over." And I believe in this theory so much.
So a lot of the comments claim that this has happened to them as well, which I just think is kind of an interesting concept overall. And for me personally, I have a lot of ear piercings, but the only time I've ever lost an earring was at a hotel, and then everybody got COVID. So Is that not proving the theory? I don't know. But I figured this would be an interesting one to hear your guys' personal stories on this, because there are so many good ones in the comments just of that TikTok. I encourage you to go read it because I found it to be very interesting. But let me know your thoughts and let me know if you have a good story. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these conspiracy theories. And if you have any TikTok theories that you want me to talk about, just tag me in them. But anyway, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.